I remember one morning I was coming back from a house show from the night before. I think it was out at the orphanage. And I found myself waiting for a bus on the Northeast 82nd freeway overpass. And I was still lit from the night before, meaning to say that as I was pacing back and forth, I was kind of like this. And there was this old black blood standing there, minding his own business. He was waiting for the bus too. And at one point, I walked up to him and I said, "You know, they used to put real butter on popcorn at the movie theater." The old blood gave me one of these. But it's true. They did used to put real butter on the popcorn out at the movie houses and the bijous and the drive-ins and all manner of movie theaters. Up until the point the butter was surpassed, as you well know, by that neon yellow day glow nuclear reactor meltdown toxic waste sludge that they pump onto the popcorn, which in and of itself isn't too bad. It's actually kind of tasty. An acquired taste to be sure, but gradually gained in appeal. If not butter, was at least buttery. But soon enough, as the years and then the decades went by, even that slipped into the past, into my past, because at one point I stopped going to the movies altogether. It just got so expensive we couldn't go anymore. All the way up until the point in time at which your late punk's auntie invited me to an afternoon matinee out there at the Laurel Thirst. And as we paid for our tickets and walked through the lobby, we passed by the concession stand, and she stopped and she said, "I know you take great exception to the prices, but it's my treat. I'm going to have some popcorn. Would you like some too?" And it had been so long since I'd been to a proper movie, and so long since I had had movie theater popcorn with which to enhance the magic of watching a motion picture there in the theater, I couldn't resist. I said yes. And so the kid grabbed a tub and he filled it up with hot, freshly popped, delicious smelling popcorn. And then he pumped on some topping. Handed it over. And we took it and we went inside to the cinema and we sat down and we waited for the appropriate moment. We waited for the lights to dim and for them to roll the picture. I don't remember what movie it was, it's been too long, but we waited so the anticipation could be met and then savored with the first bite of that hot, fresh movie theater popcorn. And I took a great big bite. And I realized immediately that something was wrong. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. The popcorn, as I say, was hot and fresh, crisp and crunchy. And it was definitely moist. It was coated with something. But that something tasted exactly like nothing. Hot, slickly coated, wet nothing. A whole tub of it, tasting like nothing at all. When the movie was over, we went back to the concession stand. And your late punk Sonny, she asked the kid, she said, "What do you use as your popcorn topping?" And the kid takes a moment and he looks at the package, he reads the label on it, and he comes back and he says either the topping is soybean oil, or he could have said it's sunflower oil. I don't remember which, and it doesn't really matter because, by and large, with today's health consciousness, with the single-minded intent upon nutrition and such, those are almost interchangeable. And in receiving that as an answer to a question, what do you put in the popcorn as your topping, most would just have walked away from that. They wouldn't have given it a second thought. They would have accepted it as an answer and left it at that. Not me. Let's look at this from a different perspective for just a moment here. You know what this is, surely. You've seen this 1,000 times. The brand, of course, is Crisco, but whether it's a brand name or a bargain brand, it's shortening. You know that if I open this up, you're going to be looking at a thick white substance. It might as well be lard, even though this is vegetable-based, it's plant-based. But you know what this is. It's used in baking. It's shortening. You've seen it 1,000 times. I want you to imagine taking a gob of this and putting it in a little saucepan and melting it down, liquefying it. Now imagine popping up a fresh batch of popcorn, and now I want you to imagine taking that saucepan and dumping the melted shortening onto the popcorn. You can't really envision doing that, can you? Because you wouldn't. Who would? Nobody in their right mind would do that to freshly popped popcorn. It's unthinkable. Do you know what shortening's made out of? It varies from brand to brand, but either fully or partially hydrogenated soybean oil, sunflower oil. That's what this is. That's what this is made out of. That's what shortening is. And if you melt it down, that's what the topping, which they're using out in the movie theaters, is these days. Taking a gob of this, melting it down, and dumping it on popcorn. If you can even fathom such a thing. I was so disgusted by that, I decided we would never ever have movie popcorn again. But your late punk's auntie, very smart, very wise. You know how you punks and skins, occasionally over the years, would sneak in outside snacks, even though the rules are clearly posted. No outside foods, no outside refreshments allowed. Because they wanted you to pay their extortionate prices at the concession stand. You'd sneak in candy, you'd sneak in a Frankfurter. Nowadays you sneak in beer and booze. But you'd sneak something into the theater under your coat. We resorted to that. We would pay for our tickets, we'd go up to the concession stand, we'd buy the popcorn. The kid behind the counter would say, "Do you want topping on that?" And we would say, "No. No, thank you. We'll take it plain, we'll take it dry." Then we would get in to the secretion of the actual cinema, and then, out from under the coat, a thermos filled with hot, melted, 100% grade A butter. Not margarine, and certainly not anything else, but butter. You might sneak in candy bars and you might sneak in booze. We snuck in butter and we poured it on our popcorn and munched and crunched away in delightful, defiant bliss.